Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Darren Starr here. We are coming at you today with another installment in the Form Fix video series where we take an exercise, we break it apart, we identify some common problems with it, and we fix them once and for all. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at the Arnold press. So very common shoulder exercise. That's a variant of the more standard shoulder press. You can do it with dumbbells, you can do it with barbells, Smith machine, etc. The Arnold press, because of the nature of the variation, it's going to be dumbbells all the time. I mean, you could conceivably do it with kettlebells or something like that, but it's definitely an exercise where your arms have to be able to work independently from one another. So if you're not familiar with an Arnold press, what it is, you may be able to guess it was named after some guy named Arnold that you may have heard of. I don't remember who he was, some dude, I don't know, he's old now, so who cares, right? It is a variation on a shoulder press where you incorporate some external rotation as you press up, and so you'll see what I mean. I want to start off by doing things a little bit differently here and showing you a good version, just because if you haven't seen this before, I don't want you to start off and look at a bad copy of something. So we're going to start with a good version, then we're going to look at a bad version, then we're going to come back and look at the good again and compare and contrast a little bit. So without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, so here is the good copy, and here's what we're going to see. So we start with dumbbells on the knees. We're going to kick them up into position, and we're going to start with a what would the word be here? A supinated grip, so kind of underhand grip, so your palms are going to be facing towards you, dumbbells out in front. So we can see what that looks like here. Kick up right and left, and there we go, in front. And then all you're going to do is you're going to rotate into a pronated grip, overhand, as you press up. The key is you rotate as you press. Notice I'm keeping my shoulders back and scapula retracted throughout. So you can see even up in that higher position here, everything is held back. You can see there's stability through the shoulder girdle, the lats are engaged, the core is engaged as well. So you want good stability through there. And without that, it's really hard. I mean, this is gonna feel like it's an abdominal, a back exercise, unless you use those muscles to provide a little stability and make sure that you've got a weight that's low enough that you can really control it. And then eventually, once your body gets comfortable with the mechanics of this movement, then you go up in weight to the point where you almost start to feel like you're going to kind of lose control of it a little bit. But you've got to be able to develop that stability and that control first. So keep watching here. We're lowering the weight all the way down, back up. That rotation works. So we're rotating out as we press up, rotating back in as we press down. So now that we've seen that, let's take a look at a slightly more effed up version of this. This is a version that I see much more commonly, actually. And what I do is let me pause it here really quick. I refer to this as a sequential exercise rather than a simultaneous exercise. This is the biggest problem that I see with the Arnold press. When you press up, you do it sequentially. So you rotate out and then you press up and then you bring it down and then you rotate. So we're out, up, down, and then back in. So this is bad for a lot of reasons. First of all, this movement right here, where you're going out and in, all it's doing is changing how the load is distributed. It's not really working a muscle in any kind of productive way. What it does do is it takes any stability that you have through your shoulder girdle that you've established by having good, like, chest up, shoulders down and back posture, and it breaks that position. And then it forces you to have to reset it between reps. And usually you're not going to do that. So when I was recording this video, I actually used the same weight that I used for the good demonstration earlier. It was a lot harder. And one thing I always tell people is you always want to find the hardest version of an exercise and then implement that. This is an exception because this is harder, but it's not necessarily harder in a productive way. It's going to make the weight feel a lot heavier. It's going to be a lot less comfortable. This movement right here, especially, I mean, if you are doing this and using a weight that is lighter and it feels comfortable, it just tells me that you're not really challenging yourself, and you're probably not developing that shoulder stability by keeping your shoulders down and back throughout to begin with. So that's the bad version. That's the sequential version where you go out and then up and then down and then back in. If we go back to the good version now, what we can see is this is simultaneous. So we are we're rotating as we press, rotating out and then rotating in. And again, core is tight, lats are tight, shoulders are down and back. Dude's giving me a little side eye there in the camera. That's what we want. That's what we're looking for right here. And so if you do it this way, you'll feel a lot more fatigue. You're going to go a little bit lighter than you would on a traditional shoulder press. But also what you can do here is towards the end, if you really feel like it, and I didn't do this here, once you hit really close to that failure point, you can possibly bang out a few partial reps without the rotation, but just, treat it like a standard shoulder press, even if they're just partial reps, half reps, something like that, a good way to get a little bit of additional fatigue. So, not the greatest view right there, Darren. There you have it. That is the most common issue with the Arnold press, and it's a good primer on why it's an issue. It's all about stability through the shoulder girdle. If you don't have that, then the force isn't getting directed into the right musculature here. So it becomes less of a shoulder exercise and more of like a chest, arms, ab, back exercise, which, okay, we want to work all those muscles, but it's more effective if we work them differently and, don't turn the Arnold press into an abdominal exercise necessarily. You want to keep the core tight, keep the core engaged, keep the lats engaged, but you do that to the benefit of the shoulders so that you can work them a little bit more thoroughly. Hopefully that makes sense.